So, good evening, ma'am and sir. So, lesson 15 talks about the taxation, and the reporters are Eliza Kate S. Villian and Brian J. Tulaping. So, the learning outcomes at the end of this lesson, you should be able to explain the nature and purpose of taxation, identify the types of national and local taxes, argue for or against a current taxation issue. So, what is taxation? Taxation means laying a tax through which the government generates income to defray its expenses. It raises funds for government, programs, and services for Filipino citizens. Taxes enforced by national or local laws are proportionate to a citizen's ability to pay and are levied on persons, property, businesses, transactions, privileges, and benefits. The Bureau of Internal Revenue imposes these taxes by law. So, the taxation is all about on how the government collects money from people to pay for public services like schools, hospitals, and roads. And taxes are required by law and are based on a person's ability to pay. In the Philippines, the Bureau of Internal Revenue or BIR is responsible for collecting these taxes so the government can support the needs of its citizens. So there are two types of taxes, the national and local. National taxes are paid to the government through the Bureau of Internal Revenue and are based on the National Internal Revenue Code of 1997, Republic Act number 8424, also known as the Tax Reform Act of 1997 as amended. So the types of national taxes are as follows. Number 1, capital gains tax is a tax imposed on gains that maybe have been realized by a seller from the sale, exchange, or other disposition of capital assets located in the Philippines, including pacto de retro sales, a sale with a condition for repurchase, and other forms of conditional sale. So the capital gain tax, this is the tax that you pay when you earn money from selling property or the other valuable assets like land or buildings in the Philippines. So number 2, documentary stamp tax is a tax on documents, instruments, loan agreements, and papers evidencing the acceptance, assignment, sale, or transfer of an obligation, rights, or property incident thereto. So number 2 is documentary stamp tax. This is the tax is paid when you sign important documents such as contracts, loan agreements, or deeds because these papers make transactions legally official. So number 3, donor's tax is a tax on a donation or gift. It is also a tax imposed on the gratuitous transfer or property between two or more persons who are living at the same time of the transfer. So, tax naman this is the tax that charge when you give money or property as a gift to someone while you are still alive. So number 4, estate tax is a tax on the right of a deceased person to transmit his or her estate to lawful heirs and beneficiaries at the time of death, including transfers treated by law as equivalent to testamentary disposition. It is not a tax on property but on the privilege of transmitting property upon death based based on the laws in force of the time. The estate tax follows a graduated schedule of tax rates. So the estate tax is this tax is paid when a person dies and their properties are transferred to their heirs. It's a tax on the right to pass on your belongings, not on the property itself. So number 5, income tax is a tax on all annual profits from property ownership, profession, trades, or offices, as well as on a person's income, emoluments, and profits. Self-employed individuals and corporate taxpayers pay quarterly income taxes from the first to the third quarter, then file and pay their annual income tax return for the fourth quarter. Individual income tax follows as graduated schedule of rates, while corporate income tax is based on a fixed rate prescribed by law. So number 5, the income tax. This is the tax on the money you earn from your job, businesses, or profession, and it's paid either through regular withholding or by filing tax returns. Number 6, percentage tax is a business tax imposed on persons or entities selling or leasing goods, properties, or services in business whose gross annual sales or receipts do not exceed the amount required for VAT registration. It is usually based on a fixed rate and paid monthly, though some special industries and transactions pay it quarterly. So percentage tax, small businesses that are not registered for VAT pay this tax based on their sales or receipts instead of VAT. So number 7, the value added tax or the VAT is a business tax collected from the seller on every sale, lease, or service in the course of trade or businesses. It is an indirect tax that can be passed on the buyer, raising the prices of goods and services. VAT returns are usually filed and paid monthly and quarterly. The latest law on taxation is RA 9337, signed on May 24, 2005, known as the Expanded Value Added Tax or the EVAT law. So the value added tax is a tax added to the price of goods and services which buyers usually pay indirectly when they purchase items. Number 8, excise tax is a tax imposed on goods manufactured or produced in the Philippines or domestic sale or consumption or any other disposition. It is also imposed on things that are imported. So number 8, the excise tax. This tax is imposed on a certain products like the alcohol, tobacco, fuel, and imported goods, usually to regulate their use or raise revenue. So number 9, withholding tax. On compensation is the tax withheld from individuals earning purely compensation income from an employer-employee relationships. Employers deduct this tax from employees' income and remit it to the government through the BIR or an authorized agent. So the withholding tax on compensation, this is the tax your employer automatically deducts from your salary and sends the government on your behalf. So number 10, expanded withholding tax is prescribed only for certain payors like those withheld or rental income and professional income. It is creditable against the income tax due of the payee for the taxable quarter year. So the expanded withholding tax. This tax is withheld from payments like rent or professional fees and can be used as a credit against the recipient's income tax. So number 11, the final withholding tax is a kind of withholding tax which is prescribed only for certain payors and is not credible against the income tax due of the payee for the taxable year. An example of final withholding tax is the tax withheld by ranks on the interest income earned on bank deposits. So the final withholding tax, this tax is already considered fully paid once it's withheld, such as the tax on interest earned from bank deposits. So number 12, the last, withholding tax on government money payments. is the withholding tax withheld by government offices, including government-owned or controlled corporations and local government units, before making any payments to private individuals, corporations, partnerships, and or associations. So, this tax is deducted by government offices before they pay private individuals or businesses for goods or services.
Local taxes, on the other hand, is based on the local government taxation in the Philippines as stated in Republic Act 7160 or the Local Government Code of 1991. As amended, these taxes, fees, or charges are imposed by the local government units such as provinces, cities, municipalities, and barangays. Tax on transfer of real property ownership. It is imposed on the sale, donation, barter, or on any other mode of transferring ownership of real property. Ito ay pagsasailalim sa buwis sa paglilipat na ipinapataw ng lokal na pamahalaan na babayaran sa ingat yaman ng lungsod o munisipyo sa karaniwang rate na 0.50% kung ang ari-arian ay matatagpuan sa mga lalawigan o 0.75% kung ito ay nasa loob ng Metro Manila. Batay sa mas mataas sa kabuuang halaga ng pagbili o sa kasalukuyang patas na halaga sa pamilihan. Tax on tax on business of printing and publication is imposed on printing and publication. Tax on business of printing and publication is imposed on printing and publication businesses like that of books, cards, posters, leaflets, handbills, certificates, receipts, pamphlets, and other of similar nature. So ito ay ang mga printer at publisher ay magbabayad ng buwis sa katumbas ng 1% ng kanilang kabuuang kita. Subalit ang mga taong nakikibahagi sa paglilimbag o sa paglilimbag at paglalathala ng anumang pahayagan, magazine, review o bulletin na regular na inilalathala at may takdang presyo para sa subscription at pagbebenta ay hindi papatawan ng buwis sa mga natanggap na kita. Franchise tax is a tax on franchise businesses at the rate on exceeding 50% of 1% of the gross annual receipts of the preceding calendar year based on the incoming receipt, the annual earning within the territorial jurisdiction where the franchise is selling in. So, ang franchise tax ay isang buwis na ipinapataw sa mga negosyo o individual na binigyan ng prangkisa ng pamahalaan upang magsagawa ng isang partikular na uri ng negosyo o serbisyo tulad ng telekomunikasyon, transportasyon, kuryente, tubig at iba pang public utility. Tax on sand, gravel, and other quarry resources is imposed on ordinary stones and sand, gravel, earth, and other quarry resources as defined under the National Internal Revenue Code as amended. This refers to the above materials that are extracted from public lands or from the beds of seas, lakes, rivers, streams, creeks, and other public waters within its territorial jurisdiction. So, ang buwis sa buhangin, graba at iba pang quarry resources ay isang lokal na buwis na ipinapataw ng pamahalaang panlalawigan or provincial government. So, mga individual o negosyong kumukuha o nagmimina ng mga likas na yaman tulad ng buhangin, graba, bato at apog, marmol at iba pang katulad ng materials mula sa mga ilog, bundok o lupa. Ang mga layunin nito ay makalikod ng pondo para sa lokal na pamahalaan, maayos na mapangasiwaan at maprotektahan ang mga likas na yaman, masiguro ang responsableng pagkukwari. Professional tax is an annual tax on each person engaged in the exercise or practice of his or of her profession that requires government examination like licensure examinations. So, ang professional tax ay isang taon ng buwis na pinapataw ng lokal na pamahalaan o lungsod o munisipyo sa mga profesional na nagsasagawa ng kanilang hanapbuhay gaya ng mga abogado, doktor, inhinyero, accountant, arkitekto at iba pa. Matapos makapasa sa licensure examination at makatanggap ng lisensya mula sa Professional Regulation Commission or PRC o iba pang ahensya, ang pagbayad ng professional tax ay kailangan bago legal na makapagsanay ng profesyon. Amusement tax is a tax collected from the proprietors, leases, or operators of theaters, cinemas, concert halls, circuses, boxing stadia, and other places of amusement. So, ang amusement tax ay isang lokal na buwis na pinapataw ng pamahalaang lungsod o munisipyo sa mga bayad sa panonood o pagpasok sa mga liwan o libangan tulad ng sinihan, konsenyerto, teatro, sirko, or boxing match, basketball game at iba pang pampublikong palabas. Karaniwang ipinapasa sa manonood ang buwis dahil ito ay isinasama sa presyo ng tiket, ngunit ang may-ari o operator ng amusement place ang responsable sa pagkolekta at pagbabayad nito sa lokal na pamahalaan. Annual fixed tax for every delivery truck or van of manufacturers or producers, wholesalers of dealers or retailers in certain products is an actual annual tax on vehicles used by manufacturers, producers, wholesalers, dealers, or retailers to deliver or distribute distilled spirits, fermented liquors, soft drinks, cigarettes, and other products to sale outlets or consumers within the province. It is usually imposed by local provincial council where the truck pass or deliver their cargo. So, ang annual fixed tax para sa bawat delivery truck o van ay isang lokal na buwis na ipinapataw ng pamahalaang lungsod o munisipyo sa mga manufacturer or producer, wholesaler, dealer, o retailer na gumagamit ng delivery trucks or vans sa pamamahagi ng kanilang mga produkto. Ito ay taonang buwis na nakapirming halaga or fixed amount, hindi batay sa dami o halaga ng produkto kundi sa bilang ng sasakyang ginagamit sa delivery. Tax on business is imposed by cities or municipalities on businesses before they will be issued a business license or permit to start operations based on the schedule of rates prescribed by the local government code as amended. Businessmen pay this tax if they apply for a mayor's permit to conduct their business in the local government unit. Rates of these taxes vary among cities and municipalities. So, ang tax on business ay isang lokal na buwis na ipinapataw ng pamahalaang lungsod o munisipyo sa mga taong o kumpanyang nagsasagawa ng negosyo sa loob ng kanilang nasasakupan. Karaniwan, ang buwis na ito ay batay sa kabuuang kita o gross sales o gross receipts ng negosyo sa loob ng isang takdang panahon at kinakailangang bayaran upang legal na makapag-operate ang negosyo. Fees for sealing and licensing of weights and measures are imposed for the sealing and the licensing of weights and measures. This is to impose regulations with regards to such weights and measures as prescribed by the city, provincial of municipal council. Ang fees for sealing and licensing of weights and measures ay mga bayad na ipinapataw ng lokal na pamahalaan sa mga individual o negosyo na gumagamit ng mga weighing scales, measuring devices o iba pang kagamitan sa pagsukat sa kanilang operasyon. Fishery rentals, fees, and charges are imposed by the municipality or city to grantees of fishery privileges municipal cities in the water, especially fish corrals, the privilege to build bangus, fry oysters, mussels, or other aquatic beds of government areas code and other as specified in the local. Ang fishery rentals, fees, and charges ay mga bayad na ipinapataw ng lokal na pamahalaan o ng Bureau of Fisheries and Aquatic Resources or BFAR sa mga individual o negosyo na gumagamit, nagpapalago o nanguhuli ng isda at iba pang yamang dagat sa paupahang pangingisda o fishing grounds. Community tax is a tax levied by the cities or municipalities on every Filipino or alien 18 years old and above who has been employed for at least 30 consecutive working days in a year, engage in a business or occupation, owns real property worth 1,000 pesos or more, or is required by the law to file an income tax return. It is also imposed on every corporation, whether domestic or resident, foreign, or doing business in the Philippines. So, community tax na kilala rin bilang residence tax o sedula ay isang lokal na buwis na pinapataw sa lahat ng residente ng lungsod o munisipyo at sa mga negosyante o professional na naninirahan o nag-ooperate sa nasabing lugar. Taxes levied by the barangays on stores or retailers with fixed business establishments. Withdraw sales of receipts of the preceding calendar year amounting to 50,000 pesos or less for cities of barangay and 30,000 pesos or less for municipal barangays at a rate not exceeding 1% on such gross sales or receipts. Ang buwis na ito ay isang lokal na buwis na pinapataw ng barangay sa mga tindahan, sari-sari store o retailer na may matatag o permanenteng negosyo sa loob ng nasasakupan sa barangay. Layunin ng buwis na ito na makaliko ng pondo para sa barangay para sa pagpapaunlad ng komunidad, makontrol ang operasyon ng negosyo sa loob ng barangay, mabigyan ng legal na dokumento ng registrasyon at pagbabayad ng buwis.
Number 13, the service barangays fees or charges are fees or charges collected by for services rendered in connection with the regulation or the use of barangay-owned properties, dryers, or service facilities such as palay, kopra, or tobacco. So these are small fees paid for using the barangay-owned facilities or services such as drying facilities for farm products. So number 14, barangay clearance is a fee collected by barangays upon issuance of barangay clearance, a document required for many government transactions such as when getting a business permit from a city or municipal government or applying for a job in a government office or a private company. So the barangay clearance, this is a fee you pay to get a barangay clearance, which is often required when applying for jobs, permits, or other official transactions. So here's the guide questions. What is taxation? What is the purpose of taxation? How are national taxes similar to and or different from local taxes? What are the types of national taxes? And last, what are the types of local taxes? And that's all. Thank you.